because Arnie Schwarzenegger went on to become the governor of California, and Jesse the Body Ventura went on to become the governor of Nevada, I think, at one stage. So there you go.
Nevada, really?
There you go. Interesting trivia.
Yeah, it's funny because like I never obviously I knew that he was like the governor of Cali or whatever, but never kind of really associated. Like anytime watching his movies, can't believe he was like a governor.
I was living in California when he was governor, because the governor was Gray Davis, and then it was a recall election. So Arnie got in. We called him the Governator. Darlington's there. Darlington's walking around.
Sorry.
It's Aldana.
That's okay. Aldana's here.
Eduardo, can you put your camera on, please?
Yeah. Eduardo, are you there? I think he logged in and probably went to Tesco or something.
There he is.
There he is.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Cameras are on for this session now, so no cameras.
No problem.
So it's only 3 minutes past. We might just wait a couple of more minutes. I'm just going to do a quick overview of highlights for this week that apply to everybody. Michael's very kindly joined us to talk to Darlington about the networking option and give him a bit of insight, a bit of deeper insights to that. And myself and Dana will then talk to everybody else about the other options. Anyone who submitted let's call it an alternative proposal, should have got a response from me. I think they were all pretty much fine. There's a couple of, things to highlight and think about maybe with some of them, but they're all fine. Nothing that was jumping out at me kind of going, oh my God, that's crazy. So that's all good. Who are we missing? Medina isn't here. Marcelo's not here yet. Who else are we missing? Carlos. Carlos is always late. He'll be a few minutes. And Priscilla. Okay, I'm going to stick on my Moodle page so you can see what it is I'm talking about. Here we go. So you will see in the slot for this week, there will be wanted to submit a draft plan this week. Now, I feel like I say this every year, but sometimes what I find happens is that some people think, oh, great, that's all I need to do this week. No, that's not true. That's all we want to see this week. It's not all you should be doing this week. So you should be working away on your project and moving forward and getting things done. And not just be going, oh, I just have to do my plan and then Ken will be happy. That's not what this is about. You've only got another 10 weeks left. So go. Can't overemphasize this. But I will ask you to submit a draft plan this week. It doesn't really matter what format you submit that in. A lot of people do Gantt charts, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with Gantt charts. But don't feel you have to do a Gantt chart. It doesn't have to be a Gantt chart. But it has to be some sort of plan structure that shows a timeline, has, dates for things and timelines for things, not just a list of tasks. A list of tasks is not a plan, and that's not going to be good enough. So you need to, so the point is that you submit something. It doesn't matter what you submit, you get 1 mark. If you submit it before the deadline, I'll give you 1 mark for free. Isn't that great? And then I'll give you some feedback on it so that you know what you need to do when you're submitting the final thing at the end. All right, I have a quick presentation which I'm going to run through shortly. But basically, the key point is you're going to need to change the plan. The plan is not going to work. Plans don't work, they never work. So you have a plan now, and then you realize in a couple of weeks' time, oh, right, that's not working. So you need to go back and change the plan. That's good. That's what we want to see. So what we want to see is that your plan at the end is not the same as the plan at the start, because you've changed it. Why did you change it? What have you changed? And so on. That's what we want to see. Right, the other thing to flag is this weekly reflections Google form link, which you will see here, which says weekly reflections, overall weighting 10%. 10%, Ken. So there's a link there to a Google Doc. It's a very, very short Google form. I mentioned this last week. This is worth 10% overall. You must complete it every week. All right. It is time-stamped by Google. So if you just do a pile of them at the end, that's not going to help you. You should be doing it once per week. There's about, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 questions on it. Some of them are very, very short, yes/no type questions. But what we want to see is that you've thought about what you're doing and you're thinking about what you're going to be doing next, if you know what I mean. And you've reflected, so you should be reflecting on your progress. Important, you will not receive reminders to complete the form. So I'm not going to be sending a message every week or mentioning this every week going, hey, did everyone remember to do the form? No, it's up to you. So my best suggestion is to put some sort of alert on your phone for a time that suits you. Do I have to do it on Tuesday again? No. Do I have to do it on Wednesday again? No. One day each week. Pick a day that suits you. Pick a time that suits you. Doesn't matter to me if it's midnight or 2 a.m. I don't care. Do the form whenever suits you, but do it once per week as regularly as possible. If you normally do it on Wednesday and you forget one Wednesday and do it on Thursday, that's fine. Doesn't matter. Once per week. If you come, I don't want to be getting emails from people going, oh, I forgot for the last few weeks. Can I do 3 of them this week? No, you can't. It's not going to count. Right? We want to see regular weekly reflections. Please, 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 please do those. I mentioned last week that if you do them regularly and you do it properly, it's very, very easy to get 6 or 7 out of 10, even 8 out of 10. If you forget to do them or just literally go in and go, yes, 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 don't fill anything in, well, then it's really easy to get 3 out of 10. So it really just depends on what you want. Do you want to get 7 or 8 out of 10, or do you want to get 3 out of 10? Up to you. So it's those are easy marks to get. If you do it properly, please go and do it. And you should be doing that every week from now, starting this week, until you've submitted on the, whatever it is, 13th or 14th of August. Okay? And then the other general alert is next week we have a designated supervision session. So you want to see everyone next week, and we will be holding that session in CCT. So ideally we want you to come in to us at 12 o'clock. If someone has a massive, huge problem with that, please email me and I'll see what I can do. But we would prefer to see you in class so we can see what you're doing and talk to you about what you're doing and see if we can sort out any problems. It also gives you an opportunity to talk to the other people in the class who may be doing something similar, may have the similar problems, maybe they're even using the same tools as you. Oh, I'm using the, I don't know, some framework as well. I can't get that to work. What have you done? Oh, I solved it with this. Oh, amazing. I can do that. So, you know, that's how we learn. So that is next week. All right. So please, please, please don't, I'm over-egging it now, but please don't forget those weekly reflections, because there's always a few people every year who don't do them and then they fail. And it's really silly. Or they might not fail, but you could end up with, 67 and you're going, oh no, I could have got 70. All I had to do was click a few forms. So it can make the difference. Those extra 5 marks between getting 3 out of 10 and getting 7 or 8 out of 10 can make a difference. So please don't forget. There are some links there from the first week on Gantt charts. If you want to, they're free tools. And you can actually do a Gantt chart in a spreadsheet if you really want to. But if you want to find some free tools, there's some links there from that on last week's thing. Okay, so I'll stop that. The last thing I wanted to say generally to everybody, and those of you who haven't got your cameras on, please put them on,
Is my
because
camera on?
well, it's saying it has a fault, Darlington. So fair enough. But the ones of you who don't have them on, please put them on. This session is run with cameras on.
I was using my phone before.
Sure, yeah. So the session is run cameras on, guys. You need to have your cameras on. I forgot to say this last week, and I can't believe I was thinking about it. I can't believe I forgot to say this last week. All or most of you are going to be applying for jobs. If you haven't been already, some of you are probably already applying for jobs. Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Now, one of the things you're going to get asked by your potential employers is, well, what have you done? Show me something that you've done. Guess what this is? This is the thing you're going to show them. All right. So this is your big piece of work that you go, look what I built. I built this whole database system by myself, this whole website by myself. I got it to communicate. I've done this validation. I've done this, calendar tool that I had to find. All of them. They could get you to explain, okay, how did you do that? They're not expecting you to be professional programmers when you're starting off in your first job. They're expecting you to have some kind of competence so that you know what you're doing, and they don't feel that they have to teach you everything. So this is the thing that you can use to show off. It's a really, really useful thing to be able to say, look at the project that I did, blood, sweat, and tears, and the pain I went through. And I never want to see Ken again.
But it can be fun. It can be fun.
Yeah, but it's really, really useful. And I know we have had students before who've said to us that, look, this was really helpful to them when it came to interview time, to be able to say, here's, or even to put in the CV, here's my GitHub link to my code, and here's the thing that I built that I've deployed live on a Roku or something. I don't know, whatever you've done with it. I was like, oh, you're able to do that? Cool, that's interesting. So this is useful to you. So bear that in mind, I guess. Okay, so the next thing on my agenda is, anyone got a general question that they want to ask about the project, about what they're supposed to be doing, or anything like that?
The designated supervision, is it going to be between us and the teacher, or between ourselves and the students?
Myself and Aldana will be there during this.
Okay. That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Ken, you told me that you're gonna discuss about the proposal that I sent the last week.
Yeah.
You said commonly being doing that. So
I'll come back to you on that one. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, I have that in my head. Don't worry. Anyone else got a general question? Are we all happy enough? There should be some questions. I'm kind of worried that there's no questions.
Ken.
Yep.
Yeah. For the drafting, what do I have to submit? The Gantt chart, and what more?
Okay, what we're looking for, I'll do a quick presentation on it now, but what we're looking for is what tasks do you think you need to complete? And you need to allocate some sort of time frame to each of those tasks. Okay, and then you need to plan them out in some sort of a sequence that finishes at some point in early August, because that's when you have to have it done by. Okay, and then that's basically it. And what normally happens is people don't have enough detail in their plan. They haven't really fleshed out their tasks enough, so we can give you that feedback and say, look, you need to think about building a database is not a task. That's an overview. Building the database is a lot more than just building the data. What do you have to do to build a database? So we want to see that detail. So you've thought about it. The other reason for doing that, Priscilla, is so that you actually look and go, oh my God, I've got a lot of stuff to do. Because it can be a bit of a wake-up call moment where you suddenly realize, oh, right, there's actually quite a lot to do for this project. I better get going, rather than just leaving it all.
Can I upload I have a skeleton for my report. Can I just upload what I already have?
You can upload whatever you want, as long as it's some kind of plan. We will give you some feedback on it. We're not marking it now, Priscilla. Okay, that's important to note. I'm not grading it now. What I'm doing now is looking at what you've done and giving you some feedback on it. The more you have done now to flesh out your plan, the less work you're going to need to do on it over the coming weeks. But you're going to have to change it anyway. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So, in fact, as I said, we want you to change it. That's the whole point, is that you're going to need to change it.
So, just a quick question there. From what you just said a second ago, that like even if you are sort of like playing around with different components or whatever to sort of flesh out what you might need or whatever, you can kind of just formalize them later, so to speak, as well for the actual final submission, and show that I originally thought X, but Y was needed or something like that. Or does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's my point. So you're going to change the plan as you go. So you're going to realize after, probably by next week, but even every week you're going to realize, oh, that's not really working for me. I'm going to have to do something different. So that means my tasks have changed, or I need to resequence things a little bit. So your plan is going to change. You're not, being honest, you're not going to go back to your plan every single week and change it, but you should go back occasionally and look at it and go, okay, is this still accurate? Am I up to date on my plan? Ultimately, I could come along, in theory, I could come along in week 3 and go, well, here's the plan. So tell me where you are in this plan. And you're like, I'm still here in week 1. Okay, that's not good, is it? Now, I'm not grading that. That's me punching you in the stomach going, get going, please, because otherwise you're in trouble. So if you're looking at your own plan and noticing that you're behind your own plan, then that should be a real moment of, okay, I really need to get my ass in gear here, because I'm not even following my own plan, never mind Ken's plan. I'm not even following my own plan. So that's important that you have that. That's what it's there for. It's to help you plan your work, time out your work. You know how much time you have each week. Everyone's different. Some of you might be working, some of you might not be working, some of you could be doing 3 jobs for all I know. So how much time do you have to work on the project? When can you put the work in? Do I need to take a couple of days off work so I can put some time into the project? That's for you to decide. I can't plan that for you. But what I can tell you is, look, your plan doesn't have enough detail in it. You're not being realistic with you've given yourself a week to build a database. Can you build a database in a week? Is that reasonable? And you're like, oh, well, yeah, I'm off that week. Oh, okay, you're off that week. You're going to do nothing else except build a database? Maybe. But then you come back the following week. Have you built the database? No, I didn't get it all done. Right, so now where are you? Right? So be realistic with your planning, and don't kind of say you're going to do something that you kind of really know isn't really going to happen. Try and be realistic with your planning, and then look at your plan and go, okay, whoa, I have a lot to do, and I really, really need to. So if I've told myself I'm going to spend 2 days a week, I really need to do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to get finished. Or 4 days a week, or whatever it is you've decided you need to do. It's your project, it's not mine. So you're going to have to do it. Fair enough? So, but it's perfectly reasonable to get to week 4 and realize, oh, this tool I was using doesn't work the way I thought it was going to work, or it turns out to be really complicated. I'm going to bin that and use something else simpler instead. That affects my plan a bit. I need to write that up in my report as a kind of a thing. I'm going to put in my reflection as well. And, then I can stand up at the end and kind of go, well, so tell me why did you change into that? Oh, because of blah, blah. Okay, so you thought about it. Great, that's what we want to see. All right, that you've thought about it, and you've considered it, and you've analysed it, and you've acted. All right.
So, can I ask the question? You're gonna give us a feedback after this draft plan if our plan is reasonable, way able to be done, because
I'll give you some feedback, Kelson. It's very difficult to me to know whether your plan is reasonable or not, because I don't know how much time you have each week. You know how much time you have each week. What I can tell you, I can ask you questions like, are you sure you're going to be able to get this done? You're saying you'll be able to do this in 3 days. Are you sure about that? Have you thought about that? Or are you just putting down 3 days to keep me happy? I don't care. Right? What we will be grading is what you submitted at the end. All right? If you tell me you're going to do it in 3 days, but really it took you 4 weeks to do, I don't know, right? But at the end of the project, when you submit something that's not working properly, it isn't good, and you go, well, it just took me longer to do this. I said, well, you said it was going to take you 3 days. Did you keep to that plan? Oh, no. So, but you didn't change the plan? No. So why not? Do you see what I mean? So we're just looking, those are the kind of things that we'll be looking at. Have you thought about it? Did you change it? Are you keeping it up to date? Are you monitoring your own work? That's all part of the grading process. It's not, so just to, and I did say this last week, this is not just about how good your final application is. This is a process. Okay? Myself and Adana and Mike and anybody else who's helping us with the grading at the end is not interested in the magic application that came out of nowhere. And oh my God, what was that? What we want to see is that you followed a process, that you know how to develop a piece of, whether it's a network plan or a piece of software or a mobile app or wherever it is, that you've been able to analyze the requirements, been able to build the different parts, you've thought about the tools you're going to use. Here's my design. Here's how I built it. Here's how I tested it. It's not great, but it's mine, right? And I know how I did it. I'm supposed to look at this fantastic thing. So how do you do this? Okay, did you do this? Well, I got some help from my friend. Okay, I think that's a fail. Right? So we want you to follow the process. Okay? And I'm telling you, now, look, don't get me wrong, Kelson. If you want to get 80%, it has to be amazing. Okay? Well, that's reasonable. To pass, it doesn't have to be amazing. Right? We have had people who have passed this whose projects didn't even work properly. But their process was there. They just couldn't get it to work because some technical thing got in the way, or they had some problem with a library that they couldn't get to, whatever it was, right? It just won't work for me. Okay, it's a bare pass. It might only get 40%, but they're able to show the process they followed. They were able to show how much they thought about it. They were able to show that they've done all the work. And I can't believe I got it. If it was just all about the end process, we wouldn't bother having these meetings every week. Just go away and have a snooze for the next 8 weeks and then come back to you at the end. Okay, we want to see what you've done every week. We want to see that you're doing something. And when you come in and you say, oh, I didn't really get anything done last week, we go, that's fair enough. That's fine. No, you're not going to lose any marks for that. But then we're going to kick you in the ass and go, look, you really only have another 7 weeks to go. You don't underestimate this. If you leave this to the end, you're going to struggle. Okay? Right.
So your advice is when we are doing the project, we should be writing the report as well.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest, that's a little bit of that's how I would do it. I know some people are very good at writing reports sort of at the end of things, and they'll be able to pull this fantastic piece of work together in 5 or 6 days or 4 or 5 days at the end. And you know what you can do better than I do. I'm not expecting you to have produced the report as you go. And we are looking for a draft chapter 1 in another week's time, but that's really just so we can see how you're writing things and give you some feedback on how you're doing it. If you decide to leave it to the end and do a report at the end, there's nothing wrong with that. But it can sometimes lead to reports that are very rushed. And what we can see sometimes, Darlington, is reports that have loads and loads of lovely screenshots of things and nothing else. And that's not a good report. So whether it's, for example, here's my network diagram picture, here's my IP configuration picture, here's my router configuration picture. Okay, now why did you use that router configuration? There's no explanation in your report why you configure the routers that way. There's no explanation of how you did the VoIP. You've just said you've just got a diagram. Okay, it's a nice diagram, but there's nothing explaining it. You haven't told us how you built it. There's nothing behind that. That's not a good report. What we want to see is that you explain why you did the things that you've done. That could be a 2-line explanation, or it could be a half a page explanation, or more, but there has to be some sort of explanation of why you did it.
Okay.
Fair enough?
Yeah.
And the same, I got one email, we're going to name it, we're going to get one email from somebody, can I use the Django framework? You can do whatever the hell you want, it's your project. Knock yourself out. The question we'll be asking at the end is, so why did you use the Django framework? Or why did you use the Bootstrap, or whatever it is, right? Pick a framework. So in your report, you should be explaining, this is the framework that I chose, and this is why I chose this framework and not one of the other ones. And again, like I said, that could be a half a page. It doesn't have to be a 6-page essay. It's a short explanation of this is to justify, I think this is best because. That's fine. Brilliant. Next question is, right, how much of this did you do yourself and how much is from the template from the framework? Well, it was about 10% of my work. Okay, 10%, right. Interesting. Now, obviously, we'll be able to see what's a template and what's not. So if you're using templates, you need to be adjusting them and adapting to them and adding to them with your work and not just relying on the templates. Okay, we're coming up to 12:30. So does anyone else have a quick question, or will you move on to the next stage? We shall move on. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Mike, is I'm going to put you into a meeting room with Darlington.
Okay.
So you can talk to him about the networking option. Has anyone else decided in the meantime that they want to do networking? No? Okay. Just to give them some of the more technical stuff, Mike, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So I'll create a breakout room now if I can find out where the bloody options are for breakout rooms again. There we go. Okay, I'm putting both of you into a breakout room. You should get an invite. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, talk to you later then.
Will do.
Hello. Yeah. Afternoon.
I'm going to put my email address here into the chat. So my name's Michael. Nice little echo you got there.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can fix my laptop, but it's not working.
Okay. Anyway, I just sent you my name and my email address. So, so look, you can contact me. You know, I do a lot of networking, so I'm pretty good at this stuff.
Yeah, I already heard that from my friend. My friend has told me a lot about you.
Which one's your friend?
Bello.
Okay, good. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So I have a couple of questions to ask. Like let me just give me a minute. I want to download what they want us to do on the project. The first question I want to ask, they asked me to. Shit. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. They told me they said all divisions will require an external internet connection. So that's kind of tricky. And the other one, talking about infranet, it said custom infranet portal design. So those are the two things that are confusing me at the moment. I don't know if you have the project. Do you have it?
Yeah. So the breakout room looks like it's about to end. What was your question here?
The question is, what does custom infranet portal design? What does it mean?
It means that you're going to do some planning and make sort of a custom design. Like you can start with an existing design, but then you want to customize it, make it your own.
Okay, custom infranet portal design, which means like literally working on someone else's design.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the breakout room's going to end, but you can just send me an email now that you got my email address, and then I can help you from there. And maybe we can have a Zoom meeting too, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
I'll add a few more breakout rooms so that I can use them if I need to. Okay.
That's okay. Darlington, did you have more questions for me?
I'm going to reopen the rooms now.
Okay.
Michael, and you can go back into the room. Yeah,
okay, brilliant. That's okay.
Sorry about that. You should be able to join the room again there now. Okay, so I'm going to put Kelson into a meeting. You get an invite now, Kelson. I'll join.
Hello.
Continue on with your question.
I said my the custom infranet connection.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of a tricky one. That's what I really don't understand at the minute. And they talked about all divisions will require an external internet connection. This project has 3 distinct divisions. We have the employees, the research and development, and we have the marketing section. So I've done something, but these all divisions will require an external internet connection. Does it mean that each of the 3?
Yeah, keep going.
Does it mean that the 3 departments need external internet connection or one connection to connect everything?
Yeah, so you're going to have one big, the internet's up there, and then like, if are they going to be like, if they're in the same building, they can share the same internet. if they're going to be in different buildings, then they're each going to have different internet access. So it looks like they're located in a main office that has 3 distinct divisions.
Yeah.
So you can have the internet coming into the building, and you can have the divisions are just 3 different departments. There's one department is research and development. That's the R&D. The other one's the sales and marketing. And then the other division's going to be manufacturing. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can have one internet connection coming in, and then so there's a router, the internet comes in through a main router, but then it's going to get routed to each of the different departments and sent into the different switches.
Okay.
Okay. So you should be able to start to draw this out. I mean, basically what you maybe just have a box that's going to be the building. Okay. And then in that box, you could make the 3 different departments, 3 different squares in there. And then, so you could have one router where the internet's coming in, and then that's going to have like a little connection to each department. So that already there's part of your planning. But then when you're doing this, in each of those little squares, you might write, okay, research and development has 300 employees, manufacturing 550 employees, sales and marketing 150 employees. Okay. Now it's telling you though that the R&D division is going to be on the same premises, but has to be securely segregated from the other divisions. So what's the best way to segregate all the divisions? Do you remember?
I was thinking of using the best way to segregate them. Using the VLAN.
Set up VLANs, exactly, because then you have all the VLAN security. Did you have Greg for the networking? Who did you have for networking?
Brenda.
You had Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it during the day or at night?
It was last semester.
During the day. Okay.
Yeah, during the day. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah. So, so you've been through a lot of great stuff. So you should be able to do really good. Brendan was a really great teacher.
Yeah.
So you're going to be setting up a bunch of VLANs there, and then that way you can set up all the security. And then when you write up your report and when you do all this, make sure that you highlight all the security that you put in there, because that's going to be worth extra points. You want to make sure that everything is well documented about this. Okay.
It doesn't mean talking about the VLAN. Then I wanted to use the firewall as I wanted to use a firewall that has a router.
Yeah. So you have, what is it, the ASL or?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some because they told us that everything has to be open source. So I'm just looking at a few of them.
Yeah, I think there was an ASL router. There's
yeah,
something like that, firewall. I forget what it's like. You can find it on Cisco products. Hang on a second. Let me go look this up real quick. Forget exactly what it's called. ASA firewall. That's what it is.
Yeah.
The ASA firewall. So Cisco's got this ASA firewall. That's a good one to use. Does it say it has to be open source?
Yeah, it said it has to be open source. Everything has to be open source.
Okay.
That's where the...
Okay, hold on a second. Let me find. I'll find out if it's open source. It's advanced security application. Maybe not. I found here in network training, I found it 12 best open source firewalls. So the class, yes. Yeah, so the ASA is Cisco's proprietary one. So that wouldn't be open source. But there are here I'll send this to you in the link
Okay.
in the chat. So see this way, this way you're already started. This is what you want. You want to try to make as much of this progress as you can. So there's some open source firewalls. So like that's the kind of research you want to do. You see, I found that in just a few minutes. So you want to take that kind of approach. You want to do research. Now, I just gave you a reference there. You should write that down. And when you do that report, include all your references, have a whole section of references. And you even don't just write the reference, write what you got from the reference so that you use that reference to find your open source firewall and even indicate the one you found. Do you see what I mean? I'm trying to help you write a better report.
Yeah.
Because building the network is only part of your assignment. The other part of the assignment is going to be to do your documentation. And you could have a great assignment with crap documentation and you'll get a worse grade. Or you could have maybe a not so good network, but a really great documentation and you'll get a better grade. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to help you.
Okay.
So what else? What else? Other questions here?
I think that's all for now. I think I don't know, since I have your email and your Zoom, I don't know if it's possible as I do it along. If I have some questions, maybe just call you and fit some Zoom meeting with you. I don't know.
Yeah, what you should do is read through it and try to get started and try to work your way through it, because I see there on page 2, right? Network infrastructure overview. You really want to put some thought in that. Okay, so what I would do is get a notebook or get paper and like keep notes of everything you do. Like when you do research on the internet, write down what you find there. Be organized, because if you're organized, you're working with yourself. If you're not organized, you're working against yourself, and you're going to make twice as much work for yourself. So you really want to be organized and systematic. Pretend like you're creating a system on how to make this project. And you want this system to be as smooth and flexible as possible. So you have all these little things you're going to have to research, like the voice over IP solution, automated IP version 4 address allocation. Well, you know what that one is. How do you automate your IP version 4 address allocation?
How do I automate it? I'm using what is it called? Is it the DHCP server?
Exactly. So you know this stuff. So all you got to do is read through that and try to figure out what it is. And so you should go through that. You should do it today. Spend time looking through the whole document and try to really see if there's how much you know. And I'll bet you know probably 60 to 80% or more. And then find out what you don't know. And then that's where you can start doing research. And if you really get stuck, then you can send me an email. But you want to go do as much as you can on your own. And then if you're really stuck, you can send me an email.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, read through the assignment. All the information is there. So if you aren't sure.
Yeah, the virtualization part. Yeah. It said network infrastructure. The virtualization part, I'm going to use Ubuntu and Windows. I'm using Ubuntu, right?
Yeah, Ubuntu's open source. So if it says to use open source, Ubuntu's perfect. Windows is not open source.
Yeah, Ubuntu. I'm using that will be for the visualization.
Yeah.
That's where I'll configure the DHCP server and every other thing.
Okay, but now remember, you there's Packet Tracer. You're planning on using Packet Tracer too.
Yeah, the Packet Tracer. That's where how am I going to connect both? That's what I'm really thinking, because I know the Packet Tracer. That's where I will do the simulation of the PCs. That's where I'm going to set up the VLANs and the switches and the router and every other thing. So But let me start and see what I can do.
Yeah, because
Because they said the assignment brief said they have external partners outside. Like if the external partners want to communicate with the internal department, like those Arush, research and development, the marketing team, that's when we need the internet. I was thinking that where the internet router comes in. And there's also another router that I plan to use for the internal, like for the R&D department, the manufacturing. I plan to use the what's it called? The firewall that has the firewall router, so it can be able to filter anything that is coming into the system, to check information that goes in and the one that goes out.
Okay, so you're going to be using Ubuntu and virtual machine or two, but you're also going to be using Packet Tracer, right?
Yeah.
So I just sent you a link about some information that'll help you connect up Packet Tracer to your Oracle VirtualBox virtual machine.
Okay, wait, I'm coming. Let me look for it. Okay, let me see.
Do you see that? See the links I sent you?
I'm trying to.
So you want to copy those links?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
But that's not the only way, so there's lots of information out there. I just found that information in just a few minutes. So you want to do your research. It's really easy. Do your research.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what Google's for.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Listen, I'm going to go.
Okay.
Okay. So listen, all the best to you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Nice knowing you.
Okay. All right, Darlington. All the best to you too. Okay. And if just get started on that and read through it, everything's there in your assignment brief. So what you want to do is get clear on what you do know. And then if there's anything that you really don't know and you're really not sure of, then you could contact me.
Okay.
Okay. All right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Recording in progress. So here, like I would like to say, well, it's up to you, but as you say, I don't really think it is up to you. Okay, I think I can give you kind of like an idea what could be easier for you. There is a lot of things to do, that's true. And it is important, I believe, it is important to have that very structure, right? So we have our front end, we have our back end, the connection between those two blocks with the database. But something that I think it is kind of
recording in progress.
You need to go kind of together with the three things in the same kind of phases. So the first phase would be understanding what is the general picture of your artifacts, okay? And understanding the general picture of your artifact means, okay, you have a general idea of how your web or application will look like, have a general idea what are the main requirements of your application, and then have a general idea what information is better for you to save. So that would be your first phase. So I would move into phases, right? But together as a block with these three different parts of your artifact, including the report, right? And sometimes in a particular phase, let's say the development process, probably you will need to do more things on the back end rather than the front end and so on. But the phases move together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that at this stage, more or less you should have an idea what technologies you want to use. So more or less you should be kind of like finishing your own research on technologies and making a decision. And now like you should be moving into modeling in all these different parts of your project, right? Backend, front-end, database, report, have an idea of your whole report. Okay. And of course, Kelson, like once you keep moving and you realize, oh, I have this other requirement, maybe you can tweak a few things in your database. But the modeling and the general design is very important. And you need to like put a lot of thinking of that and deciding, because are the foundations of your projects. Then you will always have time to make some small changes to keep moving. But I think that for your planning, I would be more tempting to see it as phases, right? And kind of moving as a block with all the different parts of your projects.
Okay.
So hopefully that gives you an idea.
Because in the future, we're always going to change what we started, because as we code it, as we going to develop the system, and the first modeling I did for the database can change.
Yeah.
Whose name?
But that's why I'm saying like I think that the foundations is like the general idea of your project. That's like the big picture of your project should kind of stick together, and then the small changes, the small tweaks are the things that you can change while you keep moving.
You're going to have some basic functionality, Kelson, that you have to have, right? So the user has to be able to enter details onto a website that gets stored in the database, for example. You have to be able to do that. Now, to be able to do that, what you need a database and you need the front end. Now, some people might decide, I'll do the front end first, and I'll build my website and I'll build my forms and I'll do my validation on my forms or whatever. And some people might start by building the database first. It doesn't really make any difference to us which one you built first. Right? You might be, I'm really good at databases. I know how to do a really great database design, and I can build my database really handily, and I get that done in a couple of days. Fantastic. Someone else might think databases, nightmare. I don't have to. I'll do the website first because I'm better at that. That's fine. You still have to be able to do the two parts. So the key things are going to be, what does my system need to be able to do? I need to be able to add some people's details. I need to be able to put in a booking for my car. I need to be able to log into it. I need to be able to update the details. So let's say the customer's phone number changes or something, or he buys a different car. So if I log in to do my car service and I want to book my car in for next week, the system would assume I have the same car. But, oh no, hang on, I'll change those details now because I've got a different car because I bought a new one. Right? So that's fine. So you can think about all those things, and then you've got to go and build it. So at this stage, you definitely need to be thinking about what functionality are you providing? What does the system do? What do I need to be able to do with the system? Is there any security requirements I have for my system? And you might have totally forgotten about security. I don't really need to worry about that. And maybe you don't. And someone else might go, oh, you know something, maybe I should be hashing all the data in my database using some sort of fancy hashing algorithm to show off that I know how to do that. And that's an extra thing that you can then say, look, I've encrypted all the information in my database using this hashing algorithm. Oh, right. Okay. How did you do that? That's not a minimum requirement. That's something extra you could do. You don't have to do that.
I got it.
But this applies to everybody. So what are you doing next is up to you. Everyone can be doing something different now, but don't do nothing. And I know that sounds really stupid, but it's very easy to go, oh, I'll just think about it for a few more days. Look, really simple example. If you need a website, so if you're doing something that has a web front end, that website's going to have some content and some pictures. Go and get that. Go, write up a fake content for your day spa. And that might just be a couple of pages of a website, really basic stuff, some nice images, some pictures of people's hands and stuff like that. That's fine. And you might think, oh, haven't you done a lot? But at least you've done something. Do you know what I mean? At least you can say, well, at least I've got that ticked off the list. It's not much, but it's something. So keep moving. Keep moving.
Absolutely.
I'm shutting up again now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a part of this project as well is how you manage the time. So that's another big bit of this project, another thing that we are actually evaluating, how you manage the time to achieve at the end of this final project a report, an artifact, and so on. So the time management is also a big part of it.
Yeah, that's very true. And that's why it's important to get moving and keep going, because this is going to look really scary. And it's not going to get less scary if you just keep looking at it. So as soon as you get started and get that ball rolling, suddenly you start feeling it. You're making some progress, and I got this done, and I got this been working, and suddenly what's in front of you is a little bit less scary, and what's behind you is now, oh look, I've got all that stuff done now. Okay, and you may never get everything that you want to get done. Very few people get it all done. We have had a few people who've got the whole thing working, and it's like some sort of work of art nearly. And fantastic for them. We can hunt them down and kill them some other time. But it's not, it's the journey, not the destination. Okay, so it's how you got there, it's what decisions did you make, how did you do it. Okay, look, I know my website's not brilliant and these links are all broken, but this is how I did it. And I got it connecting to the database, and I can add to the database, and I can delete from the database, and I can do these basic stuff. Well, I can't do anything fancy. Okay. How did you get there? Explain the process. Fair enough. It's the journey, not the destination that we're looking at. It's how you got there. That's what you want to see. As soon as I said journey, all I could start thinking in my head was, don't stop believing. I won't sing, so I've been banned from singing. It's a court order. Okay, so look, next week in CCT,
yeah.
Please come in.
Please have something.
Bring it. I mean, even if it's just a list of functionality requirements and some sort of rough idea of how you're going to do them. Some people might have done a bit, some people might have done very little, but please do something for next week.
And remember to put some time on your design. Okay, design the structure of your project, the design of the database. Even if you're going to change it, just put some time on that design. That's something that you can start doing by now. Remember that you can't just open, NetBeans or whatever you're going to use and just start coding from scratch without a design in mind and in paper, actually. Okay, so make sure to do your design before start coding anything.
Which classroom we are going to next week?
It'll probably be the Connolly room on the first floor. I just need to confirm that, but I'll send a reminder to the class before next Wednesday. Fair enough.
Okay.
And look, it won't be, it's 1 o'clock now. We're basically finished. So it will be about an hour.
Yeah.
Next week. It's not going to take us that long because there's not that many of you. So we will try and get around to everybody so everyone has a conversation. What problems do you think about? What's worrying you at the moment? If you've decided you want to use something that you don't know. So for example, you want to use Python and you don't know Python. Right. Well, look, then obviously what you should be doing right now is learning that. Right. So that you have that skill as well as doing your design. So it gives you something extra to be doing. Or there's a framework you're going to be using that you've never used before. Go and get familiar with that framework. That's stuff you can be doing now. You need to do that now. Okay? Right, so can we wrap up? I promised a little here. I'll just run through my little thing. I'm planning really fast. Hold on.
Kelson, you have another question?
Because I'm looking here, your reports you posted, and has some modeling here. Can I just kind of follow what did you do as a modeling? Because it has some diagrams saying that your process of what your system is going to do. I can show you.
So that maybe if you want to answer.
Well, the diagrams, you can use whatever diagrams you want, Kelson. Okay? The problem with using someone else's diagrams is that their system is not the same as your system. So, yeah, and you can follow the other model as an example of what to do, but don't use the same model because your system's not the same system. Does that make sense? So if you want to use the same kinds of diagrams, that's great. But make sure you've done your own diagrams and not just looked at someone else's and goes, oh, I'll just copy that and I'll use the same, because your system's not going to be the same. So Aldana did a booking system for
teacher
classes or lessons, one-to-one. See how I remember these things? You thought I'd forgotten. And that was what she was doing because that's what she was interested in and she wanted to do. You're going to have different interests. We had a guy last year who did some high-tech wallet for Bitcoin or something. I don't know what it was. I don't know how. I still actually not really sure how he did it because it was amazing. But that was what he was doing. So yeah, you need to have an EOR diagram. You need to have some class diagrams. You might want to have some use cases or something like that. So if you want to use the same kinds of diagrams, the same kinds of modeling tools that Aldana used, that's perfect. But make sure they reflect your system and how your system works. Does that make sense?
And also, guys, I know there are some reports, but it happened before. There are some sample reports there that of course, you can use them as an idea, but don't stick with it as you have to do exactly the same. It happened before where we suddenly saw the reports and suddenly I was seeing the replication of my report. And it's good to see your own creativity, you can follow them as a base if you want, and if it gives you an idea, but you can always improve it. And that's the important part here, right? That you can put your own ideas there and improve whatever is there. Also, I don't know if I look back at my report, I'm sure I can find some errors there. So don't feel like...
look, the general thing to say there is that the reports we've put up on the system were all very good, but they're not perfect. Okay, there's no perfect reports. So there are flaws in all of those reports. And it's worth bearing that in mind. So you might decide, I'm going to copy this bit. And that could have been the bit that was terrible in that report. Okay, so just do your own report. Have a look at it from as an example of a structure of what to do. But the key piece, if you were to look at those reports in detail, is actually what you'll see there is that things are explained and there's a reason given. That's what we're looking for.
What does
Your explanation and your reason is going to be different. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too long on this. You might remember this guy. Where's this not moving? Here we go. Hey, your plan is not going to run. It's not going to work. So we want a timeline. You can do this one of two ways. Either start from the end and work back, so you know when the deadline has to be, and you could work back from there. Or you could start from now and go forward. So it doesn't matter. You end up with a plan one way or the other. Obviously, what I'm hoping will happen is you'll start at the end, work back, and then realize that you should have started the project in March and go, oh, that's not good. Or you'll start from now, go forward, and then realize you won't be finished until October and go, oh, that's not good. I need to think about my plan here a bit. Okay. So that's one of the benefits of doing the planning now, is you think about how much time is available and what's left for you. So what tasks do you have to complete, and make some sort of estimate as to how long that time will take. I have my little Star Trek mention here. For those of you who've never seen Star Trek before, I apologize. But basically the lesson here is that it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. So if you think, oh, I'll probably do that in a day or two, well, it's probably going to take you 4 days, not a day or two. Okay, so always assume it's going to take longer than you think it's going to take. So it's better to plan for a longer time, and then when you finish it earlier, go, oh, that's a bonus, as opposed to, it was supposed to take me a day, it's 3 days, and I'm still doing it, I'm behind schedule, I'm going to panic now. So overestimate rather than underestimate gives you a better time. That's your project, they're your tasks. Your tasks are not going to be the same as somebody else's tasks. They're not necessarily going to be the same as tasks from previous projects. That's fine. Try to be detailed. Avoid big general tasks like build a website or design front end. Okay, so specifically, what does that involve? It might be 3 or 4 subtasks. Try to be detailed. You're going to need to add to the list. At some point, you'll think of something. Oh, I completely forgot about that. And likewise, you're going to remove from the list. Something's going to be on the list, and you're going to go, no, can't get that done. Forget about it. It's not good. That was unrealistic. It was a great idea when I started it off. I'm not going to get it done. Delete. Right? Okay, but try and be detailed. Think about what comes first. So, can you build the database before you've built the front end? You might sit there and think, okay, can I do that? I could, couldn't I? Is there any reason I can't do that? So think about what has to come first. Because obviously you need to do the first thing first. Otherwise you sit down to do a task, you're halfway through it and realize, oh crap, should have done this other thing first. So I can't, now I'm stuck. And I need to delete what I've done and go back and start again. And you've wasted your time a bit. So do the predecessors first. Sounds a bit stupid, but amazing how you might forget these things. And then what dependencies do you have? Is there certain pieces of software you need? Is there a library you need to have for Python or Java or whatever? Is there a particular hardware requirement that's needed? Am I going to be hosting this on a website? If I'm going to host it, where am I going to be hosting it? Do I need to go and get that hosting at least, do I need to go and find a free hosting site now so that I have it, even though I'm not going to use it immediately? Maybe it takes a day or two to set it up. I don't know. So you go and investigate those things and make sure you're not getting to the end and go, oh crap, I needed a week to get this set up and I didn't realize it. Now, planning tools, Gantt charts, to be honest, are pretty widely used as planning tools. There are other ones, so feel free to use them. For example, this is one. Now, I deliberately picked this because it's not for this project. And I do that because otherwise everyone goes, oh, I'll just copy that. No. So this was for a completely different degree level project for groups. But you can see what they've done. It's just basically a spreadsheet with the squares colored in. It doesn't have to be a fancy Gantt chart. Right? It's not without its flaws. It's a bit general in places, you know, coding front-end app. It's a little bit general, but okay, it's not bad. At least they've thought about all the bits they need to do. They have included when they're going to actually write up their report. Hint, hint. Make sure you plan for that. When are you actually going to write the report? And it's funny, you might laugh, but we do often get people who submit draft plans and there's nothing in it about writing the report. You kind of go, when are you going to write the report? Oh crap, I forgot about that. I want to write the report. And that's it basically. So try and do as much detail as you can. I did say last week, and I'm going to say it again this week, don't forget the testing bit. Right? There are two ways you can think of doing the testing. You can do all the testing at the end. So look, we see that quite a bit. We see they've left 2 weeks for testing at the end. And I always ask the question, is that really how you test it? Are you really just testing it at the end? Or when you're building your code, are you testing that piece of code then when you've written it? I think you probably are. So reflect that in your planning and kind of go, okay, so I'm going to code my front end, then I'm going to test it. Then I'm going to do my back end and I'm going to test it. And then I'm going to connect the two and I'm going to test it. And then so you might, and it might just be a day every now and then, and then there might still be a block of testing that you do at the end when the whole thing is finished and you want to make sure, I'm going to throw some rocks at it now. That's fine. It doesn't need to be automated testing. Obviously, if you can do automated testing, that's fantastic. But just to show that you've thought about the testing process, here are some test cases I built. I've run them through. These are the results I got. These tests failed. This is what happened. This is what I did to fix it. Or not fix it. I never got this fixed. This problem is still here. Fantastic. And I can't overemphasize that. That is a good thing to be able to say. Don't feel that just because something is not working, you need to hide it. Right? Because A, we're going to spot it, and B, we're going to ask you questions about it. Whereas if you stick upfront and open about it and say, look, this feature is not working, here's the testing I've done, here's what the problem is, it's going to take me another 3 weeks to fix it, I just don't have the time. Or, I don't know how to fix this, I can't figure it out. If someone can help me, I'll pay them €1,000. That's also fine. At least then we can say, okay, so he's identified the problem, he's analyzed the problem, and looked at possible solutions, but just hasn't actually been able to get it to work. That's a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay? Remember, journey before destination. Any readers of Brandon Sanderson will be smiling now. I don't see anyone smiling, so no one's obviously read that. Okay, we all happy? We're all slightly, little bit depressed.
Not depressed, but nervous.
But that's perfectly normal. And listen, we see this every year. I'm sure Aldana could tell you some stories about week 2 of her project. So that's perfectly fine. And that's really the key message, Carlos, is get started on it. If you haven't already. Now, I know some of you have done some work, and some of you submitted some really good alternative proposals that were halfway through a draft chapter 1 already. It's like, great, So that's really helping you. Keep that ball rolling as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
You are not going to get this to a situation where you think, wow, this is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I need you to kind of almost take a deep breath now. I'm going to go, right, this isn't going to be perfect. I'm just going to do my best. Because if you have an expectation now of, oh my God, I have to get this perfect, otherwise I'm going to fail, you've missed the point. The point is, so we want to see the process that you followed. We want to see the process that you followed. And yes, we're going to push you to do a bit more and do a bit more. And oh, yeah, you need to think about this. I think I scared poor old Jessa there at my idea there about 10 minutes ago. Oh, do I have to do that? I can see it right away. Do I have to do that? No, you don't have to do that. It's just an idea. Okay.
Not only about being perfect, when you start doing your own project or developing your application, you always think of ways to improve it, right? So your mind starts dreaming about the application that you want. And that's fair, that's normal. But remember that to get there are a lot of previous versions. So what I used to do when that happened to me, I'm always thinking any application, any program is constantly being updated, right? There are different versions of the same thing. Well, that's how you need to think of your application. It is great to think, oh, I would like my application to be perfect. That's never going to happen because that's not how things works in our field, right? I was just like a very silly thing, right? I was just saving a Word document as a PDF. And I was going back and trying to remember how we used to save Word documents into PDF, I don't know, 7 years ago, 10 years ago. We couldn't just click there and find a list of different extensions to save our file. So even in something so simple like that has simplified our daily activities, that's the same with your application. You will always find a better way to do it. You will always do something and think, oh, but now I want my application to do this other thing instead. Well, those are different versions of your own application. And that's why it is very important your design, your initial design. Make sure you know what are your requirements, the main requirements that you want to reach. And once you have those, start improving them. Mm-hmm. Start adding the small details. Mm-hmm. And all those are small versions of your own project. It will never be perfect because there is always something else that you can add. And that's not because you cannot make it perfect. It's just because of the way it is.
Okay, I think we should probably leave it there before we depress them even further. Okay, so stop the recording. So from now on, we're pretty much not going to be recording anything. Mm-hmm.
Recording
those
stopped.
2 recordings, I'll put them up on the G drive so you can get them through the red button if you need them. But just last week and this week, from now on, it's not going to be recorded pretty much. And hopefully we will see you in the building next week. And with some sort of question or something to show us or something done. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Take care, folks.
Bye-bye, guys. See you next week.
See you.
Thank you.